Happy Friday and Memorial Day weekend to you folks. This is my submission for the 2019 Openers Open from swdweeb's YouTube channel. There I showed you I've got a piece of 3/8 inch by 1 inch rectangular stock that's about 4.5 inches long. And I'm getting started here by kind of rounding off the corners of the bottle opener end of it, which will prevent fish lipping later on when I do some drifting. Back out of the fire and finishing up a slot punch. Which will then be drifted open to start the opening for the bottle opener. Flip it over and knock the slug out here. Notice the metal's fairly cold looking at this point. You can get a better shear of the slug if you punch it out while it's a little colder than forging temperature. And here you see a good shearing. Nice clean hole. Now I'm running this drift through the center of it just to get it wide enough that it'll fit over the horn of the anvil so I can forge it the rest of the way open rather than drift it the rest of the way open. Forging it open rather than drifting it open, to me, I don't know if this is the case, but to me this is a lot safer than drifting because I seem to split metal more often when I drift than I do when I forge. Now I'm using this guillotine fullering tool to kind of isolate the bottle opener end from the handle end, just kind of necking it down to the width that I want the handle to be. Then I'll take it back out to the anvil and forge the rest of the handle the same width as that neck down there. Then switch into the crossbeam hammer with the square corners on it to get a little closer into some detailing areas, and back to the rounding hammer. Lots of planishing. I want it to look really, really good. And you'll see I start to use the actual crosspeen side of this hammer to kind of get up in some corners and do some planishing that I couldn't reach otherwise. All this cold forging does all the planishing and helps chip some of the scale off also. I'm using this super lightweight ball peen hammer to knock the corners off of the bottle opener end so they're not sharp. Just lightly tapping so it's a nice smooth transition all the way around. And we're going to use this ball end punch to set the nib that's going to get up underneath the bottle cap to pop it off. Trying to get it lined up perfect, but it is just a little off center. And now again with the ball peen hammer, just lightly tapping the round to make it more of an oval shape like you generally see a bottle opener. And there's the finished rough forged project. Now I'm going to stick my touch mark on it. Give it a good wire brushing, and this will end the voiceover part of the video. I'll pick back up. I actually did this on March 31st. I'll pick back up on, I believe it was May 15th, or May 14th, and I started the handle, and I finished the handle the next day after 24 hours of cure on the epoxy. Okay, so this is where we ended up with the forging part of the bottle opener for swdweeb's 2019 Openers Open. I did a little bit of grinding, not on camera, and tried my darndest to file these edges right here kind of even with each other and flat like a bladesmith would, but I'm not a bladesmith, so I'm not very good at this. Anyway, I'm going to take maybe this wood. I've got some other more exotic wood sitting over there, like purple heart, something like that. And I'm going to do these like a knife handle, where I drill 2 holes through the metal and through the wood and put a brass rod through there and set some epoxy in it and let it cure, and then do some grinding on it to make a handle. See how it turns out. The more I look at this wood that I've already cut for it, the more I don't like it, so I'm probably not going to use this. But I'm going to dig through the pile over there, see something that I do like a little better. And I'll turn the camera back on when I get it back to this size and I start doing the hole drilling and the epoxying and the brass rodding and the grinding and all that good stuff. So, see you in a little bit. This one says bub on the side of it, so I'm assuming it's some sort of a bubinga. I don't know. But it's dense, it's heavy, and it looks like it'd be pretty with some linseed oil rubbed on it. So I'm going to cut some, the hell them bladesmiths call them, scales out of this. See how it comes out. Got a piece much bigger than we need. I think I can split that in half. Yeah, split that in half. And that'll do both sides. Like butter. And we got 2 halves. So we are at 3 3¾ inches long. I think I want a pin at 1 inch, and I think I want a pin at 2 3/4 inch. So that's 1 inch in from both sides. To see where the center point is, so we'll put one right there. And let's go a little bit further over. That's better. Actually, mark the other one first. There we go. Well, that doesn't look centered. Oh well. I need to clean those just a little bit. Sweet. That one's good. That one needs a little more. That'll work. Okay. Need to switch batteries in my drill, I think. There we go. All right. Put the opener back on there. Get that all lined up. We can drill hole number 2. Lovely. Bingo. Number 2. Bingo. All right. Now I need to mix up the epoxy. Mix even amount. Hopefully that's enough. Should have my clamps ready first. All right. We're going to let her sit like that for 10 minutes and do some grinding on it. All right, my epoxy is all dried up, nice and cured. So I've got a 60 grit belt on the belt grinder here. Throw some safety glasses on and pray I don't screw this up too bad, because I've never ground wood and metal at the same time. So this should be fun. We see how it goes. The motor on my belt grinder is a little flukered up, so I've got to give her a little push start here. Well, I'm not super happy with the outcome. Most of that is because of kind of poor grinding on the metal before I got the wood started. But it's not ugly. My pins are not quite centered. But they look okay. It's not the best I can do, I don't think. But this is the first time I've ever done something like this as far as the wood is concerned. So it taught me some things to change and to make something that's the best I can do. But for the sake of this collaboration with swdweeb, I think I'm going to hand sand the rust off of the bottle opener. Throw some, I'm going to leave the edges rough looking. So they look really nice. It's all hand forged. I didn't swedge that. Or drift that, I mean. So I'm going to sand that off, throw some boiled linseed oil on it to pretty it up and rust protect it a little bit. And I don't have any bottles of beer to test it with. Silly me, should have probably tested it a long time ago when I first forged it, but I didn't. Anyway, see my touch mark there in the back? I might, that looks like it's got some rust built up in it. I need to scribe it out, make it look a little better. I'm not unhappy with it, but I'm not 100% happy with it. Once I get the rust sanded off of it, I'll bring you back to show you a final oiled down product, and we'll call this the end. But first, sippy sippy. Alright, I've got you flipped around on the front camera here so I can kind of hang this thing off of one of my shelves. So I can see what's going on as easy as you can see what's going on. I am going to do this a totally weird way since I don't have any actual sandpaper laying around anywhere. I'm going to use one of my belt grinder belts to hand sand this. Alright, that was a 150 grit. Alright, 220. That was 220. I think I'll do 400. Let's move up to 320. Alright, so I got the sanding mostly done on the bottle opener end. I'm going to touch up the sides of the handle here a little bit, see if I can't get some of the belt grinder marks out of it. Alright, that pretty well gets that side done. So, I think what I will do now, get a blue rag. Wipe it down, get all the dust off of it. A little bit of boiled linseed oil. Ooh, that's pretty. By God, it ain't the prettiest thing in the world by any means whatsoever. I've got some epoxy filling corners and such that wasn't really a plan to begin with, but I'm proud of it. Not 100% happy with it, but I'm definitely proud of it. Like I said, it ain't the best looking thing in the world. We got some epoxy built up right there, down there in the bottom. That side looks alright. The grinding that I did on the tang was not even at all, so the left side, as shown here, is quite a bit thinner than the right. That side actually looks fairly even. Could just be that I don't grind for shit. Touch mark in the back. Left the outer edge and the nib for opening up the bottles looking forged, and the inside edge inside there, see that? So this was the swdweeb hashtag 2019 Openers Open by James DC, or A Forge with No Name on Instagram. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay, I'd be lying if I said this was the inaugural test of this thing, as I was not about to test it, have it not work, and post a video of the entire thing without completely redoing it. So, we got a working bottle opener.